Howdy.
This meeting is being recorded.
Yes, we got that. All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Wednesday, October the 12th, 2022 meeting of the Zoning Hearing Board for the City of Reading. We welcome all of you. We have a rather long agenda tonight, so it's important that we all kind of stick to the topics at hand. I'd like to have members of the board introduce themselves, and we're going to start with Jared.
Jared Bartz, member of the board.
Charlie,
Charlie Jones, alternate member of the board.
Tom,
Tom Fox, member of the board.
Bill Horst, member of the board.
Phil Rabina, member of the board, our solicitor,
Steve Price, solicitor to the board.
our zoning officer.
Tom Neff.
Okay, thank you. All right, before we begin, we received a letter to continue Appeal 2022-37, which was 1500 North 10th Street.
13th.
So I want to make a proposal that we honor the letter and do the continuance until November the 9th, 2022. Does anybody on the board have a second for that?
A second.
All in
It's North
favor?
13th Street, Phil,
Oh, what did I say?
North 10th.
Oh, I'm sorry, North 13th Street. I apologize. All right, so I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, none. Okay, so we can get started. We're going to begin by issuing decisions that happened for appeals that were from last month's meeting. The appeal is 2022-35. It was 801 North 9th Street. Mr. Price.
Is there a motion to approve the relief requested, subject to the conditions set forth in the written decision?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Questions or comments on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, ayes have it.
Okay, the next was Appeal 2022-36. It was 411 to 415 Fern Avenue. Mr. Price.
Is there a motion to approve the relief requested for 4 apartments, subject to all the conditions set forth in the written decision?
I do.
Second.
There's a second. Questions or comments on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, ayes have it.
Okay. Now, we're going to begin with 2 cases that were continued from last month's meeting. The first was Appeal 2022-31. It is 527 to 529 Court Street. Mark Shalaki, on behalf of R&R Fish LLC, is requesting a special exception and/or variances of and from Section 600-801A and 600-1101 pursuant to Section 600-406D to A, B, C, and D to allow 36 apartments. The subject property is located in the CC zoning district. Would you swear in our zoning officer, please?
Raise your right hand. Do you swear that testimony about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do, and I'd like to correct the record on this. The original application that came in was for 36. It was revised for 29 apartments. So I just want to.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Mr. Rabina,
Yes.
do you have, I was voting, I got in a little late here. So
We already
please-
voted on the first 2 cases, but you can announce your vote.
Okay, I voted the affirmative for both of those.
Okay, fine.
I was
thank you.
watching, but I'm here.
All right, thank you. All right, has notice for this appeal been given, Mr. Neff?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Price.
Thanks. I'll put some exhibits into the record. Number 1 is the notice. Exhibit number 2 is proof of publication of the notice. Exhibit number 3 is proof of posting of the notice. Exhibit number 4 is the application, including all of its attachments. And exhibit number 5 is the zoning ordinance of the city of Reading as amended.
Okay, I believe this applicant is represented by counsel, am I correct?
You are correct.
Okay, thank you. Do you want to enter your appearance, and then anybody that you're going to have testify, we're going to have them sworn in now so we can just kind of keep things moving.
Absolutely. My name is Nicole Plank, and I'll be representing R&R Fish LLC, which is the property owner. And testifying on behalf of R&R Fish is Mr. Ramin Arishabin, and then also we have our architect, Mark Shalacy. And just one question, would we be able to take both of the properties together to cut down on time? These questions are pretty much identical.
Sure. I mean, I'd recommend that they're neighboring properties and it's going to be the same testimony. If we need to bifurcate anything, we can do it, take it later on in the hearing, but it's going to be the same testimony.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd just
okay.
like to speed things up for everybody.
Yes,
Right, so-
I think as long as we don't have any legal problems with that, I think that would be fine. Does anybody on the board have any objection to doing that?
No,
No,
Then that's fine, and we will proceed along that way. But let's swear in the people that are going to testify, please.
All right, we both please raise your right hand. You're muted. Need to see the other one. Do you
Mark,
swear
you're
the te-
muted. Yeah.
Mark, you need to
Now can you hear
unmute.
me?
There you go.
Okay, there we go.
Do
Okay,
you swear
now
the
we're-
testimony? Do you swear the testimony about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And Mr. Arishabin, did he also,
No,
I'm
here, but yeah, I'm here.
did you hear the oath?
I do.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, please feel free to begin.
Wonderful. Let me just share my screen here for a second and get exhibits up. Give me a second. Can everyone see the exhibit?
Yes.
Oops,
Yes,
I clicked it too big. Hold on. All
Oh.
right, so everyone can see the screen?
Yeah, Ms. Plank, we'll just stipulate that they own the property
yeah.
unless somebody's going to object to it. We can move that right through.
Okay, wonderful. So I'll start with, if I could call Mr. Arishabin as my first witness, please.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay.
Ramin Arishabin.
And Mr. Arishabin, what is your affiliation with the property at 527 and 529 Court Street?
A member of the owner, R&R Fish.
Okay, and they've already stipulated to the deed that R&R Fish owns the property. And did you purchase that property through R&R Fish purchased that property on January 5th of 2022?
Correct.
Okay. And with regard to 522 and 522 Court Street, is that also owned by R&R Fish?
Yes, correct.
And that property, we've stipulated to the deed, that property was purchased by R&R Fish on March 8th of 2022?
Correct.
And Mr. Shalacy, who's going to be testifying, is that the architect that you hired for this project?
That's correct.
And did Mr. Shalacy prepare the drawings that were submitted to the city of Reading on R&R Fish's behalf?
That's correct.
All right, let's start with 522 Court Street. what are you proposing to do at 522 Court Street?
We are planning. We are looking for a special exception of variance.
So no, what are you planning? What are you proposing, the renovations you're proposing at 522 Court Street?
Hold on a second, please.
And Ms. Plank, the board allows you to use leading questions too.
Thank you.
Okay, 6 apartment and 1 office.
And one
One
commercial space?
Yes,
And then for 527 Court Street, you're proposing 36 apartments?
that's correct.
And you're here before the board today because you're looking for a request for special exceptions and variances for both properties, correct?
That's correct.
And if it please the board, I will have Mr. Shalacy testify to the technical drawings and specifications and plans that were submitted with regard to the variances and special exceptions that are being requested.
Fine.
And Mr. So do you have, at this time, do you have adequate parking for the properties at 522 and 527 Court?
We do.
And I've just placed up for the board to see, we have received, and I'm going to put it up in 2 exhibits for you. We've received a parking facilities agreement from the Reading Parking Authority for, the first one I pulled up is for 527 and 529. It is, if you look at section 2, it's for 56 spaces at the Reed and Court parking garage. And if I pull up our next exhibit, which I did submit earlier to Tom Neff, which is exhibit 6. This is also for, this is for 522, 524 Court Street, again in section 2. It's for 9 parking spaces in the Reed and Court parking garage. According to this zoning ordinance for 527, 529, we would need 54 parking spaces. And for 522 and 524, we would need 7. So these agreements that have been presented to us would allow for adequate parking for both properties. Obviously, they haven't been signed yet, and we would just ask that the board grant the approval conditioned on, of course, us getting these signed and presenting them to the board fully executed for the parking requirements.
All right.
Mr. Arshman, are you aware of any violations, citations, or other actions by the city of Reading against either of the properties on Court Street subject to this hearing tonight?
No,
And to your knowledge, has there been any other previous zoning relief granted for either property?
no,
Would the literal application of the city's ordinance create a hardship for you?
I'm sorry.
Would the literal application of the city's ordinance create a hardship for you in doing what you want to do with the property, the renovations you want to do with the property?
Yes,
And did you create this hardship?
no,
If the variances and special exception that we're requesting this evening are granted, will it in any way alter the essential character of the neighborhood or zoning district where it's located?
no.
If the variance.
The
and
residential
special-
apartment in the area. I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. If the variances and special exception are granted, will it substantially impair the appropriate use of the neighboring properties?
No,
And if the variances and special exceptions are granted, will it adversely affect the public health, safety, and welfare of the area?
no,
And are you requesting the minimum zoning relief needed to afford the use of your properties?
yes.
I have no further questions for this witness.
Okay. Does anybody on the board have any questions of this witness? Just members of the board?
Yes,
Anybody?
yes, just the attorney flipped up the parking facilities agreement rather quickly. It's so important just, I'd like, I can't move it myself. The term, how many hours per day and identification, the marking, I trying to read that. 56, I don't want to vote on this without seeing. Where does it say about,
They're designated parking spaces.
Yes.
good,
For
good. and
24
how-
hours a day.
24,
Correct.
that's all, that's it, thank you.
Okay, now, Mr. Price, any questions of this witness?
I have none.
Mr. Neff, any questions of this witness?
Yeah, I just needed to clarify the record. So the testimony presented that there was going to be 36 apartments, but the plans that were submitted in July called for 29 because there were too many apartments that were under the they were too small, too many efficiency apartments. So the architect redesigned the plans for 29 units.
Okay, so we are all clear that we are discussing 29 units and not
Right.
36.
You're 29 in total or 36 in total? Seven.
I'm sorry, 29 at the 527
Right.
and then 6 and 1 commercial at the 522.
Right, okay, got it. So that's what I thought. All right.
Okay, now, is there anybody in the audience that has any questions of this witness? Just questions. We're not interested in testimony or. Okay, so that's nothing. There apparently is nobody out there. All right, continue, Ms. Plank.
Thank you. I'd like to call Mr. Shalacy, please.
Yes.
Mr. Shalacy, you've already been sworn in. Would you state your name and spell it for the record, please?
Sure. It's Mark Shalacy, and it's SCHILLACI.
And Mr. Shalacy, what do you do for a living?
I am the president of Shalacy Architects. So I'm a registered architect.
And
Well,
how long have,
We'll admit them, Nicole.
Oh. thank you, Attorney Price.
Thank you.
Mr. Shalacy, did you draft plans for the renovations at the two properties we've been discussing, 522 Court and 527 Court?
Yes.
All right, if we would start with the plans for 522. Are these the plans
Okay.
that you, oops, let me go to the beginning, I'm so sorry. Are these the plans that you created and submitted to the city of Reading?
Yes.
Can you explain to the board what the client is proposing for this property? And if you need me just to pan to next pages, just tell me and I'll go to whatever page you need me to go to.
No, I think that's okay. They're looking to take an existing building, obviously in the city, and convert it into apartment units in both cases.
And specifically with 522 Court, how many apartments are they looking to convert?
There will be 6.
And will there be space for commercial use or office use as well?
Yes, there'll be one space designated as commercial or office space.
Okay. And we've requested a special exception to accomplish the renovations. And what special exception are we looking to obtain?
We're asking a special exception to allow for a studio unit to be part of the 6 apartment units.
And the studio space that we're requesting will be less than 25% of the building.
Yes.
And we also are requesting variances for this building as well.
Yes, we're requesting a variance from the dimensional lot or the uniform lot requirements for this particular property.
And why are those variances needed with regard to the dimensional?
Obviously it's an existing urban property. The building basically takes up 100% of the property, so we don't have impervious coverage, we don't have setbacks and the such.
And I'm going to now pull up the plans that were submitted and drafted by you for 527, 529. And can you explain what the client is proposing to do with this property?
Yes, again, taking an existing building and converting it into apartment units.
And do they need a special exception for this particular building as well?
Yes, they again need the special exception for allowing the studio unit apartments.
And will the studio unit apartments, based on these plans, take up less than 25% of the space?
Yes,
Will there be any commercial uses in this particular property?
no,
Do they need the same variances with regard to this property because of the dimensional issues?
yes, they will.
With regard to these two properties, would it be possible to turn them into residential space without the special exception and or the variances that we are requesting?
No,
And you saw that we put up exhibits 3 and 6 with regard to the parking, 56 spaces for 527, 529, and 9 spaces for 522, 524. Under the reading of the city's zoning ordinance, is that adequate space, adequate parking for these two properties for the uses we are proposing?
yes,
And Mr. Shalacy, in your professional opinion, would the literal application of the city's ordinance create a hardship for this property?
yes, it would.
Did the owners of this property create that hardship?
No,
If the variance and special exception are granted, will it in any way alter the essential character or the neighborhood of the zoning district where it's located?
nope, it would not, because again, there's numerous apartment units throughout this area.
If the variance and special exceptions are granted, will it substantially impair the appropriate use of the neighboring properties?
No,
And if the variance and special exceptions are granted, will it adversely affect the public health and safety and welfare of the neighboring properties?
no,
And in your professional opinion, is the owner requesting the minimum zoning relief for these properties to be able to utilize them as outlined in your drawings and plans?
yes,
I have no further questions for this witness.
If I need to clarify one thing. In 527, 529 is going to have 8 studio apartments. Is that correct?
there's going to be, I believe it's 7. I apologize because I think that's a typo error on our cover sheet, but there are going to be 7 studio unit apartments.
And do those studios all comply with the minimum square footage, or are they less than required?
I think they're a little bit less. I'd have to double check. I know they under the requirement, but I believe they're a little bit less.
Okay, and then the 7 studios, and then you'd have 22 regular 1-bedroom apartments.
Correct.
And they all meet the dimensional requirements.
Yes, they all meet the dimensional requirements, correct. There's a couple 2 bedrooms in there as well, and they
Okay.
also meet the requirements.
Okay, I got you. All right. That's all I needed. Thank you.
Sure.
All right, members of the board, we'll start with you. Any questions of the architect? Anybody have any questions? All right, hearing none. Mr. Price, any questions?
No, that clarified it for me, Mr. Ravina.
Okay, Mr. Neff, any question?
No.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody in the audience have any questions of the architect? Okay, seeing none. All right, Ms. Plank, you can continue.
I have no further witnesses at that time. We would ask the board to submit the exhibits. Well, I'm not going to do the 2Ds because you stipulated those, but we would ask to submit for the board's consideration of our approval of our request exhibits, the 2 parking agreements, as well as the plans submitted and drafted by the architect. And at this time,
The plans were already in as exhibit 4. We'll put as 6 and 7, the 2 parking agreements, and
Perfect.
that should cover it.
Okay.
perfect, thank you.
Now, I want to make this very clear to the owner and also to the architect in terms of parking. Those agreements need to be renewed every year. We're finding that people, they'll come through us, they'll agree to it, and then we find out they do it for 1 year and then they never renew. So in order to keep this status legal, those spaces or those agreements, excuse me, those parking agreements need to be done every year and kept in force. So I want to make that very clear, whether, if we approve this, that's going to be part of it. We're not sure which way this will go. That's why we have a workshop. But I just want to make that clear to everybody concerned. So thank you. And we'll close this appeal. We'll
Well,
issue.
no, Mr. Rabina, and people in the audience may want to testify against or for.
I
this.
asked that and I didn't see anybody.
Oh, okay.
All right.
I'm here.
Oh, is this Nathan Mast?
It is, yes.
Okay. Do you have any questions of the architect? That's the first part.
Nope, no questions for the architect.
All right. Do you want to make a statement for or against the granting of the appeal?
Yeah, I just wanted to testify to the validity of.
All right,
two
will you
exhibits.
please raise your right hand, sir? Do you
Okay,
swear the
then
testimony, do you
have
swear
to
the
give your
testimony
name.
about? There you go. Do you swear the testimony about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. State your full name for the record.
Nathan Matz, I'm the Executive Director of the Reading Parking Authority.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to let you know that we, through R&R Fish, through their lawyer, they have reached out to our legal team. And we have been working on trying to get them a lease that's signed for both the properties. And just one quick comment to your, we set up these leases now because of the issue that you brought up, is that these leases are in perpetuity. They go on forever until there's a use case change on the zoning. So to prevent exactly what you're talking about. So that's what's presented in both of those leases. And as long as they sign those leases, we have no problem with parking.
Okay, thank you. We appreciate that clarification.
And just for the board in general, that's how all of our leases are structured, that they are all in perpetuity. So, and one of the things we always put in there too, just to help the builders, is we don't require any type of payment until the certificate of occupancy is issued. Because some of these buildings, it's going to take a year or 2 or 3, and we don't want to have an undue burden on them when they're not actually utilizing the parking. So that's what we've done to assist the development.
Okay, well, thank you. All that information has been very helpful.
Sure, thank you.
Okay,
Gentlemen, panel, I would like to offer a testimony also. David Doutrick Sr.
okay, sir, do you want to be sworn in, please?
I do.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. State your name again for the record, please.
My name is David Doutrick Sr. My wife and I are the owners of 526 Court Street, which is the building that's immediately adjacent to 522, 524 Court, and we're right across the street from 527, 529 Court. I would like to offer evidence in the form of 6 photographs of the rear, the condition of the rear of 522 and 524 Court Street. So can I have them marked as exhibits in some fashion, Mr. Price?
Yeah, there'll be exhibits, how many, 6 of them, so we'll make it exhibit 7.
Wrong ones.
They're doing it.
Actually, I have
A
9.
to G.
I can do it.
That
nine.
doesn't, yeah, that should be marked. That's fine too, to be marked.
okay, go ahead.
So if you bring them up, if somebody would bring them up one at a time, I can authenticate each of those photographs.
Well, you will testify that you took the photographs within the last couple of weeks, right, Mr. Doutrick?
I took these photographs prior to the last hearing. And about an hour ago, I looked out my window and it's the same condition. So
All right,
here's my concern. Number one, the testimony from 2 people that the requested relief is not going to change the character of this neighborhood. I dispute that 100%. Now, this, and the architect gave testimony that the building at 522, 524 Court covers 100% of the property. And I would submit that this picture is evidence that that is not accurate, because this is the rear. This is the rear of the property at 522, 524 Court Street. Now, I don't know if you want to refer to this as a rear patio, but people have been staying overnight in that building intermittently for the last few months. There's a charcoal grill there. There's trash bags there. There is a storm sewer grate that is there for the specific purpose of draining, and it's covered with a trash can. So part of my point here is the testimony that this has no impact on the adjoining property is just patently false. I need the picture that has the retaining wall, because there's a retaining wall at the rear of this property, and there it is right there. Now, my point is, when it rains, the water, it's like a swimming pool back here. And that is what, and an exterior wall of my building at 526 Court Street, I'm taking this picture out of a first floor conference room in my building at 526 Court Street, and I'm looking into the rear of their building. When it rains, because of that retaining wall, the water pools there literally like a swimming pool, and it's critical to my property that they stop blocking that drain right now. And you can't see it unless you focus in more, but there's cigarette butts, there's all kinds of trash. In fact, you can't even see the storm sewer drain, because in this picture, they have a trash can over it. And the problem with this is the pooling of this water every time it rains is soaking the exterior wall of my building, bleeding through the bricks, and has caused all the plaster to come out of the wall of my first floor conference room. And I don't ask these owners to pay a dime here. I paid contractors to crawl out that window, seal the wall. But I guess my point is, this is the condition of the rear of that property, and supposedly nobody's living there. There's people there intermittently staying on air mattresses. But here's my question, or my concern. When there's 7 apartments there, where's all this trash going to go? They can't even get rid of the trash and keep open a storm sewer grate to be considerate of their neighbor. What's going to be the condition of the rear of that property when there's 7 apartments there? Yes, 6 apartments there. Where are they going to go with all this trash?
So your concerns are trash receptacles and removal, the free flow of water so it doesn't affect your building, and the restriction of outside activities that would interfere with your quiet enjoyment of your property. Those are generally your concerns, Mr. Patrick?
Can I add one more thing? I've been a lawyer in Berks County for 41 years, and the 41 years, for the most part, have been spent practicing law on Court Street. So with all due respect to the two people that testified on behalf of the applicant, I know what the character of this neighborhood is. This is the 500 block of Court Street. This is one of the last nice business streets in the downtown city of Reading. I'm looking out the window right now, and I'm looking right at the courthouse. The courthouse is 1/2 block from where I'm sitting right now, and I'm in my library on the 3rd floor of 526 Court Street. I'm also concerned, board, about the noise. If these tenants at 522, 524 Court, if they're going to have access to this rear area, I'm not going to be able to use my first floor conference room. If they're out there, and there's only one apartment that I'm aware of. My wife and I have owned this building for 32 years. I'm only aware of one apartment to the rear of my building, because these buildings on Court Street, they don't butt up against the buildings on Penn Street. There's fire escapes on the Court Street buildings and the Penn Street buildings. There's backyards here. I've only ever had, in the 32 years I've been in this building, there's only been one apartment, and it's one of the rear apartments to a Penn Street property. The loud music, my office is generally open from 8:30 to 5 Monday through Friday. At times when that apartment was occupied, the loud music during the day, the domestic disturbances between the people that lived in the apartment that we had to call the police constantly, it made my third floor conference room unusable at times because of the noise during business hours. And I am genuinely concerned here, and I'm talking in particular about 522, 524 Court. If the tenants to that the proposed tenants to that building have access to this rear, and I hate to even call it a patio area, if they have access to that, especially during business hours, if they're back there grilling and doing whatever else they're doing, playing loud music, making noise, I can't use this building. I might as well put this building up for sale and get out of here and flee to the suburbs like so many of the other lawyers did who had offices downtown. So I oppose what's being suggested here for 522, 524 Court. I was approached a few months ago by a young man named Matthew Adhoot, who claimed that he and his father were the true owners of this building at 522, 524 Court. And he told me the proposed use of the building, they were going to have a medical office on the first floor. And when they came to town from New York, they, as the owners, would stay here occasionally. When that's a far cry from what I hear today, where they want 6 apartments and one office on the first floor. So in addition to what else you noted, Mr. Price, I'm also concerned about the noise that's going to be the trash, the noise, and I'm honestly dismayed that this is the condition. And these bags of trash, there's lighters laying there, cigarette butts. You can't see it in the picture the way it looks now. There's a charcoal grill back there. You know, I mean, it's not even safe to be grilling food back there and have trash bags right there next to it. I mean, I'm concerned if my insurance company saw these pictures, I don't even know if I could get insurance on my building. So I really have nothing to say about 527, 529, but I do oppose, with all due respect, I oppose what they want to do with 522, 524 Court.
Okay, Mr. Doutrick, in terms of what you're facing right now, have you contacted property maintenance about that, or the fire department about those conditions that you just mentioned?
No, sir, because I believe in solving my own problems.
Well, that's what they're there for from the city, so I thought that might be helpful, so that's why I suggested it to you. All right, Mr. Price, do you have anything to say, or Mr. Neff?
No, I don't know if Ms. Plank has any questions for Mr. Doutrick or not.
Ms. Plank?
I don't have any questions for Mr. Daltrick, no.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Doutrick.
Thank you.
All right. So that closes this appeal.
Excuse me, pardon me. I'd also like to testify about I'm a concerned property owner here too.
All right, please raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Please state your full name for the record.
Michael Doutrick. I'm one of the owners of 534 Court Street, which is right across the street from 527, 529 Court Street. I don't want to be repetitive, but we have the same concerns as stated by Mr. Doutrick, who just testified about trash removal, where this trash is going to be for 29 apartments that are across the street on the 500 block of Court Street. This is an area that's been largely commercial and still is largely commercial. I don't know, we don't put our trash on the street. I don't know what they'd be obligated to do, but I can't imagine having dumpsters or 10 or 12 trash can receptacles out on the front sidewalk of this property, which is across from our building. Number two, the noise created just on a daily basis of having that many people in that property. We have confidential client meetings here. Of course, our building is only so soundproof. There's the constant flow of traffic and noise from all these people that would be across the street in that building would be a disruption during business hours. The people who, as was stated before, people using amplified music. We have people that walk their pets up this block and let them defecate in the middle of the sidewalk and don't clean it up. I can't imagine adding another 30 some odd pet owners to this block and just having them walk their pets up and down the street, leaving refuse. I understand what was stated by one of the board members earlier that we should call codes, but this has been an ongoing issue with people before we had a proposed 35 other apartment units on this block. So I have significant concerns about trash and trash removal, noise and amplified music from the property, both properties, and the permission or allowance of these property owners to have pets and allow them to walk them up and down the 500 block of Court Street during hours that our business is open for business to the general public. So those, without being further repetitive, those would be the concerns that we have from our property at 534 Court Street.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Plank, any questions of this gentleman?
I have no questions, gentlemen, but I would like to reserve just a moment to make a closing statement.
All right, is there anybody else that wants to testify for or against one last time?
There's no more Doutrix on Court Street?
Okay. Ms. Plank, your closing statement?
Thank you very much. First of all, thank everyone for their time this evening. We appreciate all of you and all the hard work that you do. Obviously, my client would be forced in any type of zoning permits, building permits, and everything else that they would obtain, be required to, in the renovations, deal with proper trash and trash removal. It's required under any building and permit codes. All of the testimony that you heard from the Doutrix was all hypotheticals. They have just hypotheticals of what could possibly happen, even though they both testify that there's no residential anywhere near them. So how would they know that this is what's going to happen? My client's testimony, the architect's testimony, you have the evidence. My client's desire to renovate these properties and turn them into aesthetically pleasing, affordable housing, which is desperately needed in the city of Reading. The literal application of the city's ordinance would create a hardship on my client. The special exceptions and variance granted will not alter the essential character because the buildings themselves will not be altered. They're just going to be cleaned up, which it sounds like the Doutrix want, and made and turned into buildings that are viable again, instead of empty buildings that seem to have issues. The special exceptions and variances will not impair the neighboring properties because, again, my client will be required to follow all codes and zoning and permitting in order to do the renovations if the city approves their zoning applications. And the applicant is requesting the minimal relief necessary to do what he wants to do. Therefore, we are asking the board to grant the relief for the special exception and the variances to allow my client to do what they have outlined in their application and as presented to the board tonight. Thank you very much.
Okay. All right. We'll close this appeal. We'll issue a decision in next month's meeting. You need not be here. The decision will be mailed to you. And we thank all of you for your presentations this evening.
Thank you.
And we'll move on to our next appeal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Good night.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Our next appeal is 2022-38, 613 Summit Avenue. John F. Kosmalski Jr., executor of the estate of John F. Kosmalski Sr., is requesting variances of section 600-803 generally, 600-803A, 600-803B, 1 and B, and 600-803B, 2B, R2 regulations, and requesting an interpretation of Ivy Street as a street, not an alley. And in the alternative, requesting a special exception 600-902E. The overall goal of the application is to allow the subdivision of an existing parcel into two parcels, with one of the new parcels being 4,000 square feet, containing only the existing garage, and the other new parcel being 4,800 square feet, containing the existing home. The subject property is located in the R2 zoning district. And I believe you're represented by counsel, am I correct?
That's correct.
Okay, do you want to enter your appearance, please?
Yes, I will. Joan, middle initial E, London, London, Kozloff Stout, 2640 Westview Drive, Wyomissing, 19610, for the estate of John Kosmalski Sr.
Okay, I forgot this. You want to swear in our zoning officer, please?
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear this testimony about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay, has notice for this appeal been given?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Price?
Thanks. I'll put some exhibits into the record. Exhibit number 1 is the notice. Exhibit number 2 is proof of publication of the notice. Exhibit number 3 is proof of posting of the notice. Exhibit number 4 is the application, including all of its attachments. And exhibit number 5 is the zoning ordinance of the city of Reading as amended.
Okay, Ms. London, if you're going to have anybody testify, do you want to have them sworn in now, please?
My only witness will be Mr. Kosmalski, John Kosmalski Jr.
Okay, so you can have him sworn in.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear this testimony about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay, you can proceed, please.
Okay, Mr. Kosmalski, could you please state your full name and address?
John F. Kosmalski Jr. My address is 333 South Wyomissing Avenue, Shillington, Pennsylvania, 19607.
And are you the executor of the estate of John Kosmalski Sr.?
Yes,
And to confirm, prior to his death, John Kosmalski Sr. owned the property at 613 Summit Avenue in Reading?
yes, he did.
With the application to the zoning hearing board, there is an order signed by Judge Parisi that's dated August 26, 2022 in the Kosmalski Estate Orphans Court file number 0622-0884, giving John F. Kosmalski Jr. title to real estate. And I'm asking judicial notice by the board.
We do.
All right, thank you. Okay, Mr. Kosmalski, could you please describe the property?
The property is 8,800 square feet with the house on one side of the property, and at the other side or the back side of the property, there is a 2-car garage.
And how would you describe the lot dimension and shape?
It's a narrow lot that's 40 feet wide by 220 feet long.
So it is a long and narrow lot?
That's correct.
How do you best describe it? And what are you planning on, what are your plans for this lot?
Well, I'd like to subdivide the lot with the front part of the lot, the part of the lot that faces Summit Avenue. I'd like to divide that into 4,400 square feet, and that would contain the existing dwelling. And the other parcel would be 4,000 square foot, and that would front Ivy Street.
And is that proposed 4,000 square foot lot is the only structure on it, the 2-car garage that you described earlier?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, one of the variances we requested and the relief that we requested was to allow the lot to be subdivided so that one of the lots, as you stated, fronts onto Ivy Street. First, why are you seeking to subdivide so that there is a lot with frontage on Ivy Street?
Well, most of the lots on that block have been subdivided already in a crosswise manner. My feeling is that if I try to sell the existing house on a 40-foot by 220-foot lot, that would be larger than what most of the other lots are in the neighborhood. And I feel that it may be difficult to sell the house with a lot of that size.
Okay, and if you were to try to subdivide it so that both lots would have frontage on Summit Avenue, do you believe that would work?
No, I don't believe so at all, because that would, if it divided it that way, each lot would only be 20 foot across, and there'd be no way to meet any of the setbacks that are required.
Okay, do you have any reason to believe that Ivy Street is an actual street and not just an alley or a service alley?
Yes, I do.
Okay, attached to the application are some County of Berks parcel search reports. Did you obtain those based on your research?
Yes, I did.
And I'd ask Mr. Neff to share the screen with the attachments to the application from Berks County Parcel Search.
These here? Is this what you're looking for?
Well, those are the photographs attached to the application. There are also some printouts from Berks County Parcel Search from the assessment office that have details on the properties that were filed with the application. Okay, do the members, rather than struggle with it, do the members of the board have the hard copy of the application in the packet, which
Yes, we have that information.
you have that information?
And
Okay,
it says Berks County Court partial search, partial search report, and it has the seal of the county on it.
okay, yes, that's what I had provided. Mr. Kosmosky, did you find that there are properties in the city, same 600 block, which have an Ivy Street address?
Yes, there are multiple parcels that have Ivy Street addresses.
And is at least one of these a private home?
Yes, it is. I
And
believe
with the
it's
other-
I believe it's 618 Ivy Street is a private residence.
And were the others commercial properties that were on Ivy Street?
I believe all the other parcels are residential with one exception.
You're also asking for relief to allow the garage as a principal use on the proposed lot fronting Ivy Street. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
And that's where the garage is now?
Yes, there is a garage there now.
Are there other garages that front onto Ivy Street?
Yes, there's one other garage, probably within 200 feet of the garage on the parcel that I'm talking about.
Were there photographs of the garage on your property, on other properties submitted with the application?
Yes, there were.
Mr. Neff, could you please share the screen and show the photos? And I'll ask what each one shows.
Okay, hang on one second. I think I closed it out. Can you see that?
I don't see anything yet.
Okay. So
Everybody has hard.
Okay,
copy.
let's use the hard, okay, well, no, all right, seems, all right, looking at that first photograph, could you tell us what that shows?
The garage on the left is the garage on the 613 Summit Avenue property. And to the right, you will see the private, the resident home that's has an address of 618 Ivy Street.
Okay, and go to the next photograph.
The next photograph, you can see the residence at 618 Ivy Street on the right, and my garage, the garage at 613 Summit Avenue is to the left.
Okay, so that is your garage that's shown?
That's correct.
Okay,
This
now-
picture here is on the left is the home on 618 Ivy, and to the right is a garage that's on a parcel, and I don't know the exact address, but it's an Ivy Street address. And as you can see, that's the only object on that particular parcel.
Okay, and that is not your garage, is that correct?
That is not my garage.
Okay,
And there's
is that a
another
color-
photo again that shows that garage on Ivy Street, which is not mine, and the private residence to the left of that garage. My
look at-
garage is on the other side, is further down the street to the left of that home that you see there.
Right. Now, looking at that, it's the street that the paved street you see in front of it, is that Ivy Street?
Yes, that is.
Okay, so that is a paved street?
Yes, it is. From what I know, that street has water, sewer, electric, and telephone.
Right, and can you tell us what this next photograph shows?
The one we're looking at now is, oh,
Yeah.
here we go. That shows my garage to the left and the private residence to the right on Ivy Street.
Okay. Now, for what do you currently use the garage?
I use it for personal use, for family and household use.
And will that change if the variance would be granted?
No, it will not.
Now, the ultimate purpose, as we discussed earlier, would be subdivision into 2 lots. For what purpose do you intend to subdivide?
To keep them as a single-family residential.
Do you have any other purpose for subdivision other than as single-family residential?
No, I do not.
So there is no intention for the garage to be there as a permanent use for that property, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, we're asking that the lot size requirements for single-family residential at 3,000 square feet, which both lots would meet, be applied, and not the 5,500 square feet. That is the purpose of that testimony. Do you have a subdivision plan currently in front of the City Planning Commission?
No, I do not.
Why are you seeking this variance now?
Because I want to know if the city will allow me to proceed with the subdivision before I spend money on the plan. I'm asking, I want to be able to keep the garage in its current location so that because I'm using it to help with processing my father's estate and with the subdivision plans.
Okay. And why are you asking to keep the garage rather than demolish it?
Well, in the process of liquidating my father's estate, I need a place to store items, furniture and things of that nature.
Will granting the variance have any effect on the appearance of the property or surrounding neighborhood?
No, it won't. From the pictures that were shown, it's everything is going to be kept in their current condition. Nothing changes. There's already a garage on Ivy Street, which belongs to Mayor's Bakery. The street is used actively, and there's a private residence on that street.
Will the grant of the variance change the character of the surrounding neighborhood?
No, as I previously said, nothing will change. I'm going to continue to use the garage to store household goods and for personal use. So it's not going to change anything. The garage has been there for many, many years, and nothing's going to change.
Okay, was this hardship in any way self-created?
No, this has been my father's property for over 60 years, and nothing has really changed.
Will you agree that any land development on the parcel with the garage must get required permits and approval?
Of course, yes.
I have no further questions for Mr. Kozmowski.
Okay, does any board member have any questions of Mr. Kozmowski? Any board members have any questions? All right. Mr. Price, any questions?
I have none.
Mr. Neff, any questions?
The only question I would have is, I understand your intention is not to do anything, any changes to the property, but would it be true that 10 years from now or 15 years from now, whoever owns the property next could do something else with the property that could alter the neighborhood? Is that true?
I possibly, I would probably have to go through zoning.
Well, that's where we're at. We're at zoning. So, but I mean,
Right.
if it's an allowed use, to say a single family home or something like that, that could be, even though that's not your intention, the next owner might have a different intention. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Could be. Okay.
But one of the reasons I was looking at subdividing it into 4,000 square feet is so that it would meet, private residential requirements.
Is there currently snow removal on Ivy Street during the winter?
From my conversations with the people that live at 618 Ivy Street, they have told me that during the summer, Public Works cleans that street, and during the winter, snow is removed so that they can get in and out of their home.
Okay. So I had checked with Public Works, Chris Lavelle, who's in charge of the right of ways. And I asked him for a determination if it was a street or an alley. He said it was an alley. And then I asked him if snow removal is provided by the city. And he said they do not plow alleys. So if they have been plowing it, that's different than what he is saying. And I guess if the board would approve this, I would just like to have a condition that it can't be a leveraging point to added, responsibilities of the city to plow. The more homes that get there, eventually, I guess they will be plowing, but I just wanted to make that observation for the board. They can do what they want.
Okay,
And
thank you. All right, is there anybody in the audience that has any questions of Mr. Kozmowski? All right, seeing none. Do you have any closing statements you'd like to make?
Oh, it's our position that the subdivision that is being proposed and that is the subject of this variance would allow the property to be subdivided in a reasonable manner. Ivy Street is clearly an active street. There are other properties, including commercial and residential, that front onto Ivy Street. Allowing the garage as a principal use, as a use on this property would not change the character of the area in any way. It would not change the appearance. It would simply be a line that is for the purpose of subdivision, and it would be for the purposes of a private residence. There's simply no other way that the property can be subdivided, and the shape of the lot precludes it being subdivided so that both lots would be fronting onto Summit, and a long, narrow lot of 40 by 220 feet would not be feasible. So that is why there is a hardship attached, and that's why we're asking for the variance to allow the subdivision, allow the garage to remain there on the one subdivided property.
Okay, thank you. Nobody else has anything. We will close this appeal. We'll issue a decision at next month's meeting. You need not be here. It will be mailed to you. And we thank all of you for your presentations this evening.
Thank you.
We will move on to our next appeal. Okay, are you okay, Sandra?
I am, thank you.
All right. The next appeal is 2022-39, 600 Summit Avenue. Whale, Fami, and Carrie Jarosco are requesting variances from section 600-803B permitted uses, 600-608A prohibited uses, 600-1503B2 commercial driveway less than 20 feet wide, 600-602.1/600 1401 and 1402 screening and buffer strips, 600-1602 north, 1602N shade trees. And the overall goal of the application is to allow the currently vacant commercial storage building to be used as a beauty salon. The subject property is located in the R2 zoning district. Okay, are you represented by counsel?
Yes.
Okay, and Joan, are you counsel?
I am. I'll enter my
Okay.
appearance.
All right, but
Joan?
now I got to swear in the zoning officer first.
Okay, sure.
Mr.
Please raise
Knapp?
your right hand.
Sorry,
Do you swear the testimony about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Has notice for this appeal been given?
Yes, it has.
Okay, Mr. Price.
Thanks. I put some exhibits into the record. Exhibit number 1 is the notice. Exhibit number 2 is proof of publication of the notice. Exhibit number 3 is proof of posting of the notice. Exhibit number 4 is the application, including all of its attachments. And exhibit number 5 is the zoning ordinance of the city of Reading as amended.
Okay, thank you. Now, Ms.
Enter my appearance on my Summit Avenue evening.
Oh, yeah, right.
Entering my appearance for Will Fami and Carrie Jarasco, Joan E. London, Kozloff Stout, 2640 Westview Drive, Wyomissing, 19610. I'll be calling 3 witnesses, Mr. Fami and Ms. Jarasco and Miguel Herrera.
Okay, do you want to have them sworn in, please?
All right, all 3, please raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, I'll call Will Fami first. Mr. Fami, can you state your name and address?
Will Fami, 514 Union Street, Birdsboro, PA, 19508.
Are you employed
Yes.
and by whom?
Keller Williams of Exton.
And are you a Realtor
Yes, I am. I'm a licensed realtor.
and you hold a Pennsylvania license as a Realtor?
Yes, I do.
Are you the co-owner of a property located at 600 Summit Avenue in Reading?
Yes, I am.
And is your wife, Carrie Jarasco, the other owner?
Yes, with the co-owner.
And when did you purchase the property?
We purchased the property at the end of last year.
The end of 2021?
Yes.
Can you describe the property to the board?
So right now it's a largely vacant property. It has peeling paint. The windows, some windows are broken. Some windows are spray painted white with keep out etched in on the windows. So it's a vacant building and it's a little bit of an eyesore at the moment.
Do you know what the past uses of the building were?
Yes, so the most recent use was commercial storage for Bimbo Bakeries. Before that, Myers Bakery used it as part of their industrial side. And then before that, it was used as a butchery.
And what do you wish to do with the building?
So we want to do a full service hair salon that Carrie is going to operate.
And that requires a variance in the R2 for the use?
Yes, it does.
Okay, and are you also seeking variances for the width of the driveway, screening and buffer strips and shade trees?
Yes, we are.
Okay, have there been any changes to the driveway width since you purchased the property?
No, there have not.
So that was its condition at the time of purchase.
Yes, it was.
Do you believe now that you will be able to add at least one tree and some landscape screening between the parking lot and the adjacent residential property?
Yes.
All right, so I'm not going to withdraw those variance requests, want them taken into consideration just in the event that they are not able to have the full buffer strips of the shade tree. We want the variances in place. As a realtor, do you have access to software that allows you to make certain drawings and rendering?
Yes, I do.
What is this software?
It's called SketchUp Pro.
Can you repeat that, please? I'm sorry, I didn't get that.
It's called SketchUp Pro.
Thank you.
And did you prepare drawings and renderings of proposed exterior and interior renovations?
Yes, I did.
Okay, I'll ask Mr. Neff to share the screen with the drawings and renderings which had been attached to the application.
Okay. This might not be what you want. Just let me know.
All right, that's fine.
We do have the hard copies.
Yeah.
There's some renderings here. Is that,
Okay, those are photographs. If you keep scrolling them. While we're on these photographs, though, why don't we just take this part of it kind of out of order? There were some photographs that were just shared by the zoning officer. Mr. Fahmy, did you take those photographs?
Yes, I did.
And can you tell us what those photographs show as to the character of the neighborhood? We'll start with the photograph that's on the screen right now.
So the photograph that's on the screen right now, you can see the proposed salon to the left, and to the right, you can see Bimbo Bakery's industrial plant.
Okay, and is that on the same block of Summit Avenue?
Yes, it's on the same street of Summit Avenue.
All right, and okay, Mr. Neff, could you scroll to the next photograph? Is that a closer in?
Yeah, it is.
photograph?
You can see a tractor trailer loading supplies.
And okay, go to the next photograph. And could you tell us, this is an aerial photograph. Did you pull that from online?
Yes, I got that off of Google Maps. Yeah.
And could you tell us what this shows?
So basically you can see the salon, it's the red dot. And behind the salon, you can see a tractor trailer parking lot. To the bottom, I don't know if it will appear in the picture, that's where Bimbo Bakeries is. And then to the top of that, I believe where would it be? To the right is where Alvernia University is. Yeah, you can't really see it, but that's where Alvernia is.
Okay, and Oakbrook Brewing Company is also within the same general vicinity?
Yes, it is.
Right. Now, did you also prepare drawings and renderings of the proposed exterior and interior renovations?
Yes, I did.
And the board has hard copies of them. Can you describe what is shown of the proposed exterior and interior renovations?
So for the exterior, what we're proposing is a parking lot and a sidewalk. For the interior, it's just showing the layout in all the stations and the layout of the walkout basement. So there's 2 floors. There's a first floor and then there's a walkout basement. And it's just showing the layout of all the stations that would be there.
And those are different services that would be offered. And I'll have Mr. Rasko testify further as to the potential use and offerings. For the parking lot, how many spaces are being shown?
So we're doing 8 spaces with 1 handicap space.
And okay, and does this also show at the edge of the parking lot a possible landscape buffer?
Yeah.
And is that a screening of an adjacent residential property?
Yes,
Are you proposing any changes to the building footprint?
no,
Will the commercial use on this block for the salon change the character of the neighborhood?
no, it will not change the characteristics of the
And-
neighborhood.
And why not?
There, like I said earlier, there's industrial, commercial buildings all around the block, and there is Alvernia University, which is pretty high traffic. So it'll be a personal service salon, so it won't really affect
Would a residential use be feasible for this property?
it would be costly, and to make it meet residential standards, it would be costly.
Okay, would the conversion of this building to a beauty salon have any negative effects on the neighborhood?
No, it would not.
Was the building in the same condition it is now when you purchased it?
Yes.
And would there be any positive effects on the surrounding neighborhood if the variances were granted?
Yes, a lot of the neighbors are elderly, so all neighbors would have access to the salon. And it right now, like I said, it has peeling paint, broken windows. It's a vacant building, and we're trying to make it something that is an asset to the community as opposed to a liability that it is now.
Okay, I have no further questions for Mr. Fahmy.
I just have one question, and I think I spotted it on one of the drawings someplace. You're going to keep those 3 large trees in front of the beauty salon, aren't you?
Yes, we are.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Yeah,
They're
we're
beautiful.
trying not to touch that, so yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, does any board member have any question of this witness? Any board member?
Nope.
Okay, Mr. Price,
I have none, Mr. Ravina.
Mr. Neff,
I would just make a statement that the residential home where that buffering is being proposed, I mean, it's very close, and I don't think that the buffering zone should be excused or relieved. That would just be a recommendation.
okay, thank you. All right, is there anybody in the audience that has any questions of this witness? All right, seeing none. Okay, continue, Ms. London.
Okay, my next witness is Carrie Carrasco. Ms. Carrasco, could you state your address?
Carrie Jarasco, 514 Union Street, Birdsboro, 19508.
Are you a licensed beautician?
Yes,
How long have you been a licensed beautician?
11 and a half years.
And are you currently employed as a beautician?
Yes,
If the variances were granted, would you intend to operate the property as a beauty salon?
yes.
What would be your hours of operation?
Like 9 to 9.
9 to 9 Monday through Friday, or 7 days a week? Or 6 days a week? Which would it be?
Sunday we'll have shorter hours.
And what services would you offer?
Hair services like haircuts, hair color, men's haircuts, nail services, lashes, and spray tans.
And being that this is a salon, there are chemicals that are used. Would chemicals used and stored there be used and stored in accordance with all OSHA and industry standards?
Yes,
And would you have a ventilation system that would be up to required industry standards, but not vent any type of fumes into the surrounding neighborhood?
yeah.
Is there anything about the products that you use that you would like the board to know?
Yes. I want the salon to be as organic, vegan, gluten-free, allergen-free, and as friendly as possible. Because I have allergies myself, and I know that that is an up-and-coming thing with different hair products and nail products. So it's going to be very plant-based and as chemical-free as possible. The
And
harshest chemical will be acetone.
And is acetone a common household chemical sold in most grocery stores and drugstores?
Yes.
It's nail polish remover, correct?
Yep.
And are plant-based products and organic products less likely to give off noxious fumes?
Yes.
What is the maximum number of employees that you will have in your salon?
10.
The maximum would, they would not be on the same shift, is that correct?
No.
What is
We
the
would have
maximum number of employees you're likely to have per shift?
5.
And will some of these employees handle multiple services? for the
Yes,
same
ideally
client?
ideally all of them.
Do you expect the maximum number of employees to be hired from the beginning, or is that as the business grows?
As the business grows,
And do you believe that allowing this use would have any negative impacts on the local community?
I don't believe so.
And do you believe allowing this use would have a positive impact on the local community?
I do.
And why, how so?
Well, it's a hair salon and everybody needs their hair done. It's going to be convenient for everybody in the local area, all the neighbors. Walking distance within Alvernia University. So students. It'll be a beautiful building versus what it looks like now. It's kind of mint green and chipping, and it's going to be beautiful.
Okay, I don't have anything further for Mr. Esco.
Okay, any member of the board have any questions for this witness? Mr. Price, any questions?
I have none, Mr. Rubino.
Mr. Neff, any questions?
No, no questions.
Okay, Ms. London, continue, please.
Okay, my next witness is Miguel Herrera. Okay, Mr. Herrera, could you please state your name?
Miguel Herrera,
Okay, employed?
Milan Consulting Group.
Okay, and what is your title with Milan Consulting Group?
I'm a project manager, project designer,
Okay, and how long have you worked for Milan?
about 11 years.
Okay, do you routinely design plans for interior and exterior properties, including parking areas and walkways?
Yes, we do.
I would ask to have Mr. Herrera qualified as an expert.
He'll be qualified as a draftsperson based upon prior presentations.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you. Are you familiar with the property at 600 Summit Avenue in the city of Reading?
Yes, I am.
And how are you familiar with that property?
I was retained by the owners to prepare some plan for them.
And I have a drawing submitted with the application. I forward an amended version today with a correction to the impervious area. See, I don't believe that was what was submitted today. Mr. Price, was the amended drawing provided to the board in hard copy?
I don't believe whatever
No.
came this afternoon would have been
Right.
sent to the board.
The only change to it was a change to the zoning information, which showed the impervious area as proposed at 47%, which is still under the 50% level, but that was the only change. That was the only change substantively. The drawing itself was not changed. Is that correct, Mr. Herrera?
That is correct, yes.
Okay. Can you tell us about the renderings that you prepared at the request of Mr. Fahmy and Mr. Esco?
Yes, we did put together a preliminary site plan showing pervious and impervious coverage calculations, layout of the parking lot. We identified that there is the possibility for 9 parking spaces, including 1 handicap accessible space. Sidewalks, we illustrate this required setbacks and miscellaneous details.
Okay. And do you believe that the property will be able to stay under the 50% threshold for impervious cover? The question was raised in the staff report.
Yes, the percentage that the numbers gave us was 47%, which is below the 50% allowed.
Do you believe that at least one shade tree and buffering will be able to be added to the parking area at the property line with the residential property?
If it is the owner's desires, it can be added, yes.
I'm sorry, can you repeat your answer?
Yes, it can be added. It can be placed.
Do you believe that allowing the variances will have any negative effects on the surrounding neighborhood?
I don't think so.
Will granting the variances create any additional traffic congestion, noise, or safety problems?
No.
Do you believe that the variances requested will have any negative effects? Excuse me, I strike that. Are you familiar with the relief being requested by the property owners?
Yes, I am.
And do you believe that the property owners are requesting the minimum relief, which will allow the property to be reasonably used?
Yes.
And are all the opinions that you offered this evening offered with a reasonable degree of professional certainty?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, I have nothing further from Mr. Herrera.
Okay, any member of the board have any questions of Mr. Herrera? All right, Mr. Price,
I have none, Mr. Rubino.
Mr. Neff?
No, I have none.
Okay, anybody in the audience have any questions of the last witness? All right, seeing none. Ms. London?
Okay, I don't have any further witnesses. I ask our exhibits attached to the application be admitted into evidence.
Admitted.
Okay, we thank you. All
Okay.
right, that concludes this appeal.
Bill, is there
Yeah.
anybody in the audience who wants? to
I
testify?
asked that. I did.
Mhm.
Did I or didn't I?
I don't think
I
you
think
did.
you did. You did ask it. Yes.
Okay, all right. And there were none. So we'll issue a decision at next month's meeting. You need not be here. The appeal will be mailed to you. We thank everybody who participated.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Have a good night.
Good night. Thank you. Okay, the next appeal is 2022-40, 1129 Chestnut Street. Stephen Dela Cruz is requesting a special exception of section 600-607D6 for a substitution of a non-conforming use, retail, with another non-conforming use, a barber shop. This property has had several previous approvals for the existing non-conforming use under Appeal 2015-28. The subject property is located in the R3 zoning district, and the owner of record is One River LLC. Okay, okay, I see Mr. Dela Cruz, you're present. Are you represented by counsel? Do you have an attorney?
No, I'm not.
Okay, all right. Mr. Dela Cruz, basically what you want to do is reestablish this as a non-conforming use as a barber shop. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
All right, will you please raise your right hand, Mr. Dela Cruz?
Oh, I'm sorry, I
Do you
forgot.
swear the testimony about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay, and we also have to swear in the zoning officer.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, Mr. Price.
Thanks. I'll put some exhibits into the record. Exhibit number 1 is the notice. Exhibit number 2 is proof of publication of the notice. Exhibit number 3 is proof of posting of the notice. Exhibit number 4 is the application, including all of its attachments. And exhibit number 5 is the zoning ordinance of the city of Reading as amended.
Okay. Have you run a barber shop before?
Yes, I have.
Okay, is it located in the city or was it located someplace else?
It was located in the city.
Okay, and are you still going to maintain that shop and then this one, or are you closing that one?
No, I plan on closing that one.
Okay, where was that located?
That was located on 1167 Green Street.
Okay, thank you. All right, I guess the one question we have is about, you do have 2 parking spaces there.
Correct.
And we cannot tell from the drawing whether there's going to be enough room for 2 cars to get by each other if one has to pull out or whatever. Do you have any pictures or anything you can enlighten us with to show us that area?
At the moment, I have not taken any pictures, but there are side-by-side parkings.
Okay, all right. I don't have any other questions. Any other members of the board have any questions?
The only question I have is, it's just gonna be a barber shop. You're not selling car stereos, there's no multi-service, nothing like that, right?
Correct.
And you're
All right.
renting the property from the owner?
Yeah, I'm leasing it.
And is it just a single-use building? There's no apartments or anything else there?
There's actually apartments upstairs.
Okay. And so this will be just on the first floor?
Correct.
Do you have any idea where the people from the apartment park?
I'm guessing on-street parking.
Okay. All right, Mr. Neff, any questions?
No, I don't have questions.
Okay. All right. Is there anybody in the audience who has any questions? Okay. Anything else you'd like to add, Mr. Dela Cruz, to tell us about what you're going to do?
I just plan on doing haircut services and like facial services. That's all, and just, you know, bringing a good positive energy to the community.
Okay. All right. Anybody else have anything to add? If not, that closes this appeal, and we'll issue a decision at next month's meeting. You need not be present. It will be mailed to you, and we thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. All right. And then the last appeal is 2022-41, 35 North Carroll Street. Kevin Sanchez is requesting variances from section
November 9th.
600-804.B, permitted use, and 600-607.A, abandoned non-conforming use. The overall goal of the application is to reestablish a non-conforming auto repair / auto reconditioning garage abandoned since
I gotta wait for
2017.
Well, I think I got it.
Who's
The only question I got is parking. I see you got parking.
Mr. Dela Cruz is the one still on.
Mr. Dela Cruz, or somebody, you need to turn off your mic.
who is speaking and interrupting the hearing?
He just muted himself. It was Mr. Dela Cruz, Mr. Price.
Okay.
Oh, okay, we weren't aware of that. I apologize.
All right.
I apologize for that. All right, well, let me finish this and then, okay, to reestablish the non-conforming auto repair / auto recognition garage abandoned since 2017. When the property sustained fire damage, the subject property is located in the R3 zone. Okay, let's swear in our zoning officer first.
Right hand, do you swear this testimony about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Has notice for this appeal been given?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Thanks. I'll put some exhibits in, and then I have a question for Mr. Jarznak. Exhibit number 1 is the notice. Exhibit number 2 is proof of publication of the notice. Exhibit number 3 is proof of posting of the notice. Exhibit number 4 is the application, including all of its attachments, and exhibit number 5 is the zoning ordinance of the city of Reading. Conrad, you filed the application for your client, correct?
That's correct.
And it was a burned out structure that you just want to bring back as a non-conforming automotive repair service, correct?
Actually, my client doesn't intend to use it as an auto repair service. It would be limited to car detailing.
Car detailing. All right, so why don't you do an offer of proof, and let's see if any of the board members have any more questions.
Okay. Yeah. Yes, we just, by offer of proof, you want me to just summarize the testimony, or?
Yes, sir.
So Mr. Sanchez would testify that he's the owner of the property, that he purchased this property intending to use it as an auto spa or car detailing service. That's how it was advertised. Well, it was advertised as actually approved, that it was zoned as, or it was in compliance with zoning for the use as a garage. He later found out that it's not the case. Again, there would be no repairing, no auto repair. There would be no inspections. There would be no tire changing. It will be strictly, like I said, auto spa and car detailing. He intends to have set hours. He intends to have, I believe, up to no more than 4 employees. He will be hands-on owner and operator of the business, so it's not someone that will be just running it off-site. He has experience running a business. He is involved in the family business right now in the city of Reading, which is the Supernatural Produce run by his father, Leopoldo Sanchez. Most likely he will just run it by appointment only. Of course, if someone stops by and there is no one there, they will take that person, but the intended operation is by appointment only.
And the father's business, is that the one up on North
12th
10th or 13th?
or 13th? Yes.
It was
Yes,
a
the
bar that he
grocery
turned-
store.
Yeah, it was a bar that he turned into a produce store, correct?
That's correct, Mr. Price.
Right. Yeah, I thought that was the family. Okay, I just wanted to make that part of the record.
Sure. And of course, he would testify. He already started some renovation work on the project. As Mr. Neff noted in his report, he obtained. Well, he did not get a zoning permit for the roof. He was not aware of that. That was not intentional on his part, and we plan on correcting that as soon as possible. As far as his testimony about the impact on the neighborhood, only be positive. This property is basically borders commercial area there on Carroll Street. He cleaned it up, and there should be no negative adverse impact on the safety or public health in the neighborhood. So, and that would be a summary of his testimony. The same would go to Mr. Herrera, who drew the plans that were submitted with the application.
Okay.
Anybody have any questions of Attorney Jarznia? I think I might have some at the end, but we'll go on. Anybody on the board? Okay, Mr. Price, Mr. Neff?
I don't know.
Okay. All right, you may go to Mr. Herrera, please.
Well, Mr. Herrera doesn't need to testify unless you have direct questions for him, Mr. Rubino.
Okay. Anybody have any questions of Mr. Herrera? Any members of the board? All right, Mr. Price, do you have any of Mr. Herrera?
I don't.
Mr. Neff, any of questions?
No.
Okay. I guess I just have one question I think the attorney can answer. Since this building was in such bad shape, I'm sure your applicant is aware that he's going to have to pass a number of codes, inspections and things like that. And that hopefully there are some plans to clean up that property because there are residences on either side. So is that part of the whole plan?
Absolutely, he will comply with all the codes. That his intent. He's already been talking to the codes. The property already was significantly improved. I can share the screen and show at least a couple of more recent pictures if you would like. Let me see if the screen sharing will work. Okay, here it is. So here is the picture. As you can see this, I assume.
Yes, we can.
Okay, so as you can see, it's the roof was already installed there. The property is boarded. Here's the side view of the property. Mr. Sanchez took these pictures just last week. Here is another angle. As I mentioned, he spoke with the codes, but the issue here right now is also zoning application for the roof because it was a flat roof prior to the fire, or maybe there was no roof at some point, but now it's a different roof, and we will apply for that. So yes, again, he will comply. He has already been talking with the code officials, and anything else that they'll want him to do, there should not be a problem.
Okay, thank you. I think you've answered my question. Thank you.
Sure.
All right. Is there anybody in the audience who would like to ask any questions or testify for or against the granting of this application? All right, seeing none. If nobody has anything else to offer, we'll close this appeal. We'll make a decision at next month's meeting. You need not be here. The decision will be mailed to you. And again, we thank you for your appearance.
Thank you very much.
All right.
We appreciate your time.
Okay.
Right.
Mr. Neff, if you can just let us on for a couple of minutes
Okay.
after everybody else is shut down.
Good night, gentlemen. See you next time.
Good night, Sandy.
Okay, do we want to do a workshop?
At first I thought that was
Who
a
gets to
yes.
vote on that? Do you want to do a workshop, yes or no?